goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yay.
Nice, that was a good episode.
I think that was really good, yeah. That's probably going to come out of an hour and 25 again, but...
Yeah, but I mean, there was a lot to get into in that one, I think.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, that's one of those episodes, like, it's sort of midway between mid-season and end of season, and most shows would probably just have, like, filler, or just pure character development, but this show's just, like, properly still got the pedal to the metal, like...
Yeah, it's like, I can't believe how far we are into the season, and we still don't really have, like, a central plot. It's just, I mean, there kind of is, but the show is keeping its cards very close to its chest, and yet still proving to be incredibly compelling, which is, like, really, really impressive.
Yeah, and when you think about it, like, this is only the first of only 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So the idea of not really having a fully central plot yet, it's crazy. We're almost a third through the whole show.
Yeah, no, it's nuts.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got a few questions for you.
Welcome to the After Dark podcast with Anthony James and Konrad. This is an extra episode for your YouTube comments because Anthony James and Konrad could not stop rambling on. What a pair of schmucks. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
Hello and welcome to the After Dark podcast. This is a supplemental episode where we go through all of the questions that you left on the YouTube video for episode 7. I'm Anthony James. I'm here with Konrad.
Hello.
There he is. If you want to listen to our podcast on audio apps, you can get them on most audio apps, so just to have a search. If it's not there, it's because we don't like that audio app and you're not getting it on that, all right? Okay, so...
They're no good.
They're no good. They're no good. Just trust us. They're no good. But on the screen, if you're watching the YouTube video, if you haven't seen the audio apps yet, all the different symbols will be on the screen now. So just have a look there. All the main ones are there anyway. Okay, so this week we've got maybe 8 or 9 questions. We'll see where everyone tries to lead Konrad this week. It's always interesting to see where we go. We sometimes we get some more off-the-wall theories, let's say, in these supplemental episodes. Things that Konrad didn't want to commit to the record of the main episodes.
Listen, I stand by my Yasin is Alexander theory, quite frankly.
Yeah, and if we're going by your people being able to split thing going on, that could still happen. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to say it during the main episode, but I've still got all my eggs in the Yasin is Alexander basket as far as I'm concerned.
That's great. Right, let's get into the questions then.
Yeah, cool.
A stranger from the outside.
First question comes from Patrick, and Patrick says, at this point, which main character will be the first death, and what could be the reason for this?
So I think Noah's going to have to kill someone fairly soon, just because Noah seems, we've basically already seen him kill Yasin, or certainly be heavily involved in the death of Yasin.
Yeah, so I think that's why they've specified main character death.
Yeah, but I think he's going to off one of the characters who's getting close to uncovering what's going on, or if not uncovering what's going on, just uncovering anything about it, because he runs a pretty tight ship. And I think it might be Ulrich. I think he's on very thin ice, and he's reckless, and he's got a bit of a devil may care attitude because he thinks he doesn't have anything left to lose, but he definitely does have more to lose. And I could see, kind of, as you alluded to in the main episode, the irony of it being that he has kind of almost given up on his own life because he thinks his son has been potentially murdered, while his son is kind of living relatively happily in 1986. And yeah, I could see him stumbling across Noah's operation and not ending up alive as a result of it.
Interesting. I think there's a similar question later on, so when we get there, we'll sort of just acknowledge the question, and then we'll sort of move on with our lives. But so then Patrick also asks a second question, and he asks it in German.
Nice. Oh my God.
So I'm going to try and ask you it in German. You don't have to answer it in German, but you can if you want.
I might not even understand it. So, well, I'll give it a go.
I think I understand it.
Okay.
People have to trust you that you aren't looking up spoilers, and people
Yep.
have to trust me that I only have 3 weeks of Duolingo on German, and I didn't Google Translate this, but I think I know what it says.
Okay.
Okay. So, wie lange hat Konrad Deutsch in der Schule gelernt?
Oh, so
I
how long?
think that means.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I think that means how long did Konrad learn German in school?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why I think it means that is because lang, I'm pretty sure that means long, because I know Schule is school. I know Deutsch is German. Gelernt, what do you think that means, right?
That's the past tense of learn.
Yeah. So I knew that that meant learnt. So I just guessed that was long. So I put that together, man. Anyway, can you answer that in German?
I can try. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the thing I like about German is you kind of take the verb and just stick g in front of it, and it makes it past tense in a lot of cases. And we'll put it at the end of the sentence as well.
Do you want to have a go?
Für 5 Jahren ich habe Deutsch gelernt in Schule. And that I probably got the structure of that sentence awfully wrong, so I apologize.
Well, this is how I know that my 3 weeks of Duolingo are not good enough, because that sounded very much just like foreign language noise to me.
It should have been in Schule gelernt. I think if it's past tense, the verb always comes at the end of the sentence. But yeah, my German is pretty rusty.
Okay, so what was the answer?
5 years.
5 years. Okay,
yeah.
You did it up to GCSE, basically.
Yeah. I did my GCSE. Got a B. Thank you very much.
Yes, but is that what you would have been predicted in these COVID times?
Yeah, I was just thinking that I might have got away with an A if I'd have studied it now.
Yeah,
or indeed a C.
I've mentioned before that I'm a teacher, so my GCSE results for maths came out today, and basically there was a whole thing going on in the last week where we didn't know what was happening, because they did like an algorithm to take our predicted grades and change them, and like 40% of pupils got downgraded, and I was really worried because my pupils need to get a C, the ones I predicted to get a C to get into their courses. So thankfully the government reversed, and they actually gave all the ones I predicted a C, which is also very, very good. But that's been happening in my life at the minute. But yeah, so I really don't want to know what my teachers would have predicted for me, because I tell you what, I didn't do much studying, didn't do that much homework. I was just good at maths. So
my German teacher for my oral exam brought in the questions that she was going to ask me, and left me in the room alone with them in a German dictionary for about 20 minutes before it started. So, which I don't think is how that exam's supposed to go. But you know,
my French teacher for the oral exam actually let me read my written work out on the tape.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah, I got a C. It was all multiple choice in the actual paper, so I just guessed and I got a C.
Honestly,
right,
our educational system.
Yeah, it's actually my wife did French to A levels, and she actually can speak really well in French. We went to France on holiday, and she can speak to everyone. It's almost like she was almost fluent. However, I surprise her every day with the French I know, even though I didn't study from a GCSE. I just scraped a C. I surprise her every day with what I actually remember. But anyway, let's move on. So the Top New Pro asks, how do you feel about Jonas going back in time? Do you think that anyone else will discover the caves? There's a load of questions here. So I'll read the whole thing, and then we'll see if we can take out individual questions. How do you feel about Jonas going back in time? Do you think anyone else will discover the caves? Do you think that when you travel there is a certain butterfly effect that can happen when the timeline can be changed? Oh, that's touching on what you were talking about. Or is everything just predetermined?
So Jonas's trip back in time, as we've kind of established, didn't really go the way I was expecting it to, because to jump forward a bit and answer the butterfly effect question, I wasn't sure if they were going to do the kind of causality thing with time travel, because it can get very complicated trying to write that, and you sort of, by doing it, you open yourself up to incredibly nitpicky arguments about, you know, this happened then, so this should happen, which kind of missed the whole point of dumb time travel stuff. But, you know, Dark, for what it's worth, it doesn't strike me as being like dumb time travel stuff. It strikes me as something that is really invested in the idea of exploring, the causational relationship between doing something in the past to your younger self or to your parents, and how that will affect your future. So I'll be really interested to see how that goes going forward. But yeah, so Jonas's trip didn't go as I anticipated it, because I thought the past had kind of already happened, and he would just hang out with Mikkel and be like, hey, we need to band together and figure out what's going wrong. Whereas on reflection, I'd kind of already identified it, but I hadn't really sort of followed it through to its natural conclusion. The idea that Jonas isn't actually going back in time to save Mikkel, it's kind of on his mind. But I think the reason he's going back in time is because he just wants to connect with his father, basically.
Yeah.
And obviously, when he finds out that by doing that he's going to compromise his own existence, he decides not to do it. I think Jonas will go back in time again. I think Jonas might go forward in time as well. I think with the introduction of the idea of stuff happening in the 50s, there's a lot of possibilities for exploring other timelines. In terms of other people, I increasingly think that Claudia traveled through time the first time she went into the caves, because no one has mentioned her since we saw her rappelling down into that bloody cave. So I think Claudia will travel. Admittedly, we haven't seen. We have seen plenty of stuff in the 80s, and no one has mentioned her. Although we haven't seen much power plant stuff in the 80s, so maybe they're just not showing it. But I think I have a feeling Claudia might travel through time. I don't know about others. Maybe Charlotte. Charlotte, I feel, is quite grounded in the present day, so I'd be surprised. But her and Ulrich are the ones who are getting close to that kind of time travel plots. So I think Ulrich will, but I don't think he'll last very long in the 80s. Let's put it that way.
Okay, cool. And then there's a question here from the Top Noob Pro. He's got quite a few questions, but this question, I don't know how to say this without coming across rude, but I really don't mean to. I think the Top Noob Pro didn't watch episode 7 before asking this question.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. Well, you'll know why when I read the question. Who do you think the man in the hood is, and who's he working with?
Oh, okay. I mean, there could be other men in hoods.
Yeah. Okay. We'll take that then. Well, obviously Helge is the man in the hood because it was revealed, and he's working with Noah. Is there? Well, let's broaden this out then. Is there anyone else that's actually? Is it Helge every time, or is it different people we've seen?
My gut feeling is that it's not, because Noah's operation feels like it probably would involve other people. So I've kind of expanded my theory about the sort of double Helge theory to potentially include Peter Doppler and Tronte as well, who I suspect may have had the same thing done to them, and so their younger selves may also be off, doing evil in different timelines. I don't think it's just Helge. Okay,
cool. Just talking about that splitting of the people, I just want to sort of hone down on your theory a little bit. Are you insinuating that the timeline is splitting, or they're literally like? Oh, I think you said that they went back in time and took Helge from the past.
Yes.
But does that mean that is that a timeline split, or does that mean that Helge didn't exist anymore to grow older, to become the second Helge? Do you know what I mean?
Well, so I don't know if it's actually splitting a timeline as such, because I think by taking Helge out of the 50s and putting him in the 80s, as you're kind of, because Helge has kind of already grown old. I don't know if he's grown to his 30s or whatever at that point,
early 40s or whatever.
Yeah, in 86. I don't know whether that would make him sort of disappear from that timeline. So I don't know if there is. It's an interesting point. There might be sort of a divergence of timelines that's caused by that we haven't seen yet. But in my head, it's just they've taken a boy from the 50s, stuck him in 1986, subjected him to some kind of aging process or that also wipes his memory, and that boy has then become Helge in the, if you like, correct timeline, even though he hasn't actually lived from 53 to 86. and that frees up Helga from that timeline to go off and do nefarious stuff with Noah.
Okay, so you are sort of it sort of only really works if when they go back and take Helga away, they're creating a new timeline there, unless you're viewing it as time isn't linear, and when they go, it's sort of, you view time through the perspective of each character. So when they go back to get Helga, it still is sort of moving towards the future, except they're actually going back to the 50s.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all
so
messed up, you know.
I think the latter is how I'm viewing it at the moment. But I could totally see Dark getting into that like divergent timelines theory and like kind of a multiverse thing where you can just go and pluck a Helga from a different timeline and stick him into your one, and that will effectively kill him off in that timeline. But it doesn't matter because the Helga who's working with Noah is from a different timeline.
Okay, cool. All right, so next question from the Top Noob Pro, and this is for me, Anthony James. I think the Top Noob Pro is the only person who ever asked me questions, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. The question is, do you think Konrad is watching spoilers behind your back? The answer is no. There's a lot already that Konrad has got completely wrong.
Yeah,
I would be even more impressed if he knew what was going on and he was still able to come out with some of the crazy stuff he comes out with. I think whenever you know the answer to something, your imagination is hindered, if I'm honest with you. So I've known Konrad a long time. I trust him. He does not know what is happening in the show. He's a man of integrity. If you cannot believe me or cannot believe Konrad, that's fine. You know, you're your own person. You believe what you want. But he is not looking up spoilers, I can tell you that. Now, there might be certain crumbs that he's taken from questions that he's got or certain things that he's noticing more because he's getting to watch it more and he's having more time to think. So you might be mind blown at him being able to predict certain things. However, for the most part, it's not really... I haven't seen anything that he's been predicting that I don't think another person, sort of a clever person who is really sort of gauged into cinema and TV, what they wouldn't get if they also had people asking him questions about things. You know, I think it's well within the realm of possibility.
I like this question because it implies that I've gotten something right that I don't know about yet, which makes me very excited to find out what that is.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff because you put a lot of theories out.
So, yeah. I mean, it's a shotgun theory with me, or shotgun principle, really, with me. Like, if you throw enough shit at the wall, eventually something will stick.
Yeah, and I also do think that there's a lot of stuff, like you'll say things just off the cuff that you can metaphorically take what you mean to mean something later, even if you're not explicitly saying. You know, it's not like you're thinking you've actually predicted what's happening, but the themes that you're portraying may actually be very relevant later. And I think that's what they're referring to. There's a few things you said. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but there's a few things you said throughout these first 7 episodes, which are really hitting on main themes that you will see later. Except the fact that they're hitting on those themes is the listener putting that piece of the puzzle in place for you, not you doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I think there's a thematic consistency to Dark that means if you're paying attention, as you say, you can kind of slot pieces into place and you don't really necessarily know what they are or what they mean in the grand scheme of things, but you can kind of figure out where they fit into like the story that they're trying to tell. But yeah, I mean, I think when all is said and done, we'll look back on the number of theories I proposed, and I think I'll be lucky if I get like 10% of the ones that I've proposed right, frankly. Yeah.
And let's all be honest. If Konrad had seen the show and he knew the spoilers, there's no way he wouldn't have staked a claim fully that dead boy was Mads.
Oh yeah, like I would 100% have that. I'd have been off to the races, been like, yep, I'm a genius.
Exactly.
Come worship at my feet as I unravel this show before your very eyes.
Exactly. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. Probably not. Maybe you still don't trust him, but
I wouldn't trust me either, to be fair.
Oh, what does that mean? Oh, let's look into that deeper. All right. So another question from the Top Noob Pro, and it's the last question from him, or from them, For me again, would you believe?
Oh, this is becoming unreasonable.
Yeah, sorry, Konrad, taking the
Put my
spotlight
foot
here.
down.
Well, this is actually, I'm going to take this as a question to both of us, right? And it says, when the After Dark podcast is over, they're implying that it is ever going to be over, but I suppose when they mean when we're finished covering Dark, I think we intend to continue, but we don't intend to drop the name the After Dark podcast. I think we'll just keep that no matter what we do. But when the After Dark podcast is over, what shows or movies that Konrad has not seen will you make a podcast on? Very interesting question, and it's something that we've put a lot of thought into. So obviously, as we see the numbers ticking away, we're on episode 7 of season 1 now. By the time we get to episode 26, or I suppose season 3, episode 8, obviously the question is going to be there: what do we do next? And we both are realistic. We both know that there's some people who are here to listen to Dark, and that's all. But hopefully by the end, and hopefully a lot of you have come to like our style, like our sort of banter. You like the way we break down TV. So hopefully some of you will continue on the journey with us after that. In terms of what we're going to do, we've got a lot of ideas. We'd like to do, one-off episodes on particular films, maybe one-off episodes looking at particular series that we've both seen before. So we've seen Game of Thrones before. Maybe we'll do an episode on that. So let you know our thoughts on that. Maybe we will do another big episode, a big series where we take Konrad through another show where he has to theorize. The problem with that is that Dark is actually a perfect show to do this with. There's only a small amount of episodes, 26 episodes. We can do it in 6 months. There's also, we're not going to be doing it for 4 years. Like if we did Lost or something like that, we'd be doing it for 3 years, which no one would like that. But so there's a limited number of episodes. It's also really welcoming theories, which is something you need for a show like this.
Yeah, you need the meat on the bone to get stuck into. You
do. And so Dark is really perfect for this. So we are open to suggestions. If you as an audience would like us to do a similar thing again, where I take Konrad through a show that he hasn't seen, we're both very much up for doing that again, if we can find the right series to do it with. Plus, I was thinking of the OA, but that's been cancelled after 2 seasons, so that would be not satisfying for anyone. Konrad, what do you think?
We could do like all 10 seasons of How I Met Your Mother and theorize on who the mother is.
Yeah, exactly. We'll go back and forth between the 4 characters or whatever.
Yeah, that'll be compelling. We'll get it in the first episode. I think most of what you said I agree with. I think there's been discussions about going through films that Dark was influenced by, which I think would be really interesting. I don't know if we'll necessarily stick to the format of something which I haven't seen and you have. I guess we could.
We'll definitely keep it, but it might not be an every week thing. We'll definitely do something with that, because I think everyone does like you theorizing and hearing about what you think.
Yeah,
it's just about finding the right things to do that with. I don't want to get to the point where we're doing it for just every show. It's not every show is worth this analysis and this level of theory,
Yeah, that's kind of the thing as well, is you need to find something which has the material to back up the commitment that we make to it. Like, because we could sit here and create theories for TV shows that really don't merit it, and it wouldn't make for good content because it would be boring. So we need to find the right thing.
Yeah, that's true. So the current thought is what we're going to do sort of in the next few weeks. Once we finish season 1 of Dark, our idea is that we're going to do the episode between. We're going to do a week between the 2 series. So we're going to have a week break, so to speak. It's not really a break though. The week that we do a break, we're going to release 2 episodes of the After Dark podcast. The first episode we're going to do is an episode where we're going to do a retrospective look back at all of Konrad's theories about season 1, what came right, what didn't come right, and what he expects to happen in season 2. So at the end of each series, we want to have a look at what's going to be, what came before and what's going to come after. So that'll be one of the episodes that we'll release in that week. And then we'll also release another episode that week about something else. We're not sure what it will be yet. If there's anything in particular the audience wants to hear, You let us know. Like maybe we're thinking maybe Game of Thrones. We're thinking maybe we'll just do something still in the time travel realm. But in that week when we have the season 1 review, we're also going to do another episode of the After Dark podcast about something else.
Yeah.
And then we'll continue on with season 2 the week after. That's the current plan.
Do a review of Terminator Genesis and talk about how badly wrong time travel stories can go when they are not written well.
Yeah, like we could actually just do we could just find the worst time travel film.
The yin to dark's yang.
Yeah, we find the worst one and we'll just have a little a light moment with that. I did release a video about Looper, so maybe we could even do Looper.
Yeah, Looper's a good movie.
It's very, very. I love that movie. It's just a ripping yarn. But so let us know in the comments what you think. I'm also going to be releasing at some point. This will end this little sort of update with this. At some point around the end of season 2 or start of season 3, when we get to that point in the podcast, I'm going to be creating a survey on SurveyMonkey. I think if I can figure out how to use it. I think you need an account and stuff, so never actually made one before. But I'll make a survey and I'll link it in the description of every podcast from that point on. And it's where you can have your say about what you want the podcast to turn into. And we'll try and listen to the feedback as much as possible. Someone in the comments said after we finish this going through Dark, we should just start again and have a spoilerific look at Dark. That is something we're very interested in doing, but maybe not for the whole thing. Like we could maybe a few months after finishing this, we could come back and we could have a look at season 1 again and then season 2 again, like thinking about in a spoiler way. But I don't see us going through for another 6 months. I don't see us doing that. But I think Dark, as you know on my channel, Dark is always going to have its place. I'm always going to have theories. I'm always going to do analysis of it. And it'll probably be the same on this podcast. We'll always come back to it. It's just not going to be the full-on 3 series again. Having said that, who knows? Maybe in 2 years' time, we'll find a friend who hasn't seen it and we'll do the whole thing with them. You know,
we'll do After Dark.
After Dark Reloaded.
Yeah.
maybe there's possibilities. But basically, we're really excited. We're looking forward to branching off and doing other things while also keeping our toes in Dark as long as we can. Because as you can tell by Konrad already, he loves this show. I love this show. So it is something that we enjoy talking about. But as for the future, look out for that survey coming out around the end of season 2, and also look out for the episode after in the in-between sort of season break. It'll be episode 11 of the After Dark podcast where we do it about something else. All right. I think that's us.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. So next question comes from Will Scott. And Will Scott says, looking back at Ulrich's first scene in season 1, episode 1, oh, this is a deep dive, this one, and his last scene in episode 7, where does Konrad think Ulrich's character arc is going?
So is his last scene is chasing Helga through the caves, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And his first scene was him in bed with Hannah.
Yeah. So I think I'm interested to see how that scene with Hannah, whether that scene with Hannah comes back at all. Because to me, it's just kind of, in retrospect, it's establishing, it's kind of almost throwing the trope of the kind of charming kind of renegade cop who does things by his own rules, which is a very 80s thing. It's kind of turning that on its head by initially suggesting he might be that kind of character and then pulling back on that to reveal that actually there's not that much that's good about a character like that. And, you know, he's not particularly nice to Hannah or to his wife for that matter. But in terms of where he's going, I think he's going to be the first one to die. I think he is in far more danger and messing with forces that he doesn't understand, and in far more danger than he realizes by just kind of blindly trailing Helga. And I think he doesn't. It's an interesting parallel because obviously he doesn't view Helga as a threat because Helga is this 70-year-old man with dementia. Even though he has himself intimated that he doesn't think Helga is working alone. And there's that dramatic irony of, like, we know Helga isn't working alone and we know the kind of person that he's working with, or we suspect what that person is like in the form of Noah. And I think Ulrich is going to find out firsthand who Helga is working with, and will potentially not last that much longer as a result. Maybe he won't die. I don't know. I had that feeling in my head when he was chasing Helga through the woods that he is playing a dangerous game at the moment.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think Will goes on to ask another question, but I think you just answered that, and it was, how do you feel about Ulrich compared to the first episode and the episode 7? But I think you sort of covered that.
Yeah.
Right. Next question comes from Jamie Jett, and they ask, what are Konrad's predictions for how season 1 will wrap up? Which plot points does he think will be resolved, and which plot points does he think will continue for the rest of the show's duration?
So if my Ulrich dying thing comes true, I could see that being either final episode or second to last episode, if they're following the Game of Thrones model of having the big stuff happen in the episode 9, and then kind of making the final episode almost a bit of an epilogue. I think I don't think we'll get any answers on who created the Sigmundus Creatus S tunnel this season, but I think we'll find out more about Noah and his operation, like what he's actually doing and what his aims are. And I think Jonas is going to time travel again before the end of this, and I think it's going to be for real this time. I think there's going to be some tipping point for Jonas where he realizes that he needs to go off and do something, and it's going to sort of propel him onwards to becoming the Stranger.
Awesome. Question from Pep Cool. In your opinion, which character regarding a character do you think will change the most? So which of your opinions regarding a character do you think will change the most?
From where I am now.
So I think they've elaborated here. They said from initially liking or to disliking, or from being good to becoming bad, or the other way around, of course. So which one do you think? So maybe your original thought on a particular character, whether they were negative. I think, like, for example, like Regina, we had a very negative view at the beginning, and now we're sort of becoming more empathetic to that character. So which character do you think is going to change the most in either direction?
I hope it's Bartos, because I honestly didn't see Bartos getting involved with the Noah plotline at all. I kind of thought he was going to be some dumbass who just sells drugs and holds Jonas and Marta back from doing important things. But the fact that he's been so explicitly thrown into the path of Noah makes me wonder what his arc is going to be. And well, maybe he won't have an arc. Maybe he's just going to get abducted and absorbed like the other kids. But he seems a bit old for that. There seems to be a very specific age group that Noah is targeting. Yeah. But yeah, I'm hoping that Bartos. I know people joked about it in the comments how we give Bartos a hard time, and that is definitely true. But I would be the first person to be happy if I was proved completely wrong on Bartos as a character, and he came round, because I love a good character arc. And as you say, Regina is definitely starting to win me round. Charlotte, I kind of initially thought of her as like a bird weirdo, and now she's quite a compelling character, and an eye patch as well. I want to see more of him. Although actually that's not really a change, because I just liked him to begin with, and I still like him now. So yeah, he's a constant nice thing. Maybe you'd feel differently if he had two eyes, but that one eye, it's so compelling. It's just the fact that he has an eye patch and no one mentions it. It just feels very. There's a character in Twin Peaks who wears an eye patch as well, and no one ever really mentions it, and it's just a really like funny character trait. The fact that it's never brought up in any kind of dialogue, and I hope that's replicated here.
Okay, awesome. Right, and Pep Cool adds, I appreciate your discussions very much. You're both very entertaining and have smart conversations.
Oh, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. We do try.
I don't.
Both of us can't believe that people actually just like listening to us talk, but
we appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate it nonetheless. Thank you very much. Okay, so question from Marcy. Where do you think the left... So we talked about this last week, and last week you said that you thought the left path in the passage went to the future. And I understood that reasoning, because you were like, well, if 2019 is like the anchor point for the show, 1986 would be the past, and then we'd go in the future. So They ask, where do you think the left path at the junction in the passage would have led Jonas if he took it?
I
think he said it was either the future or a crazy architect type room where Noah has passages to everywhere.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning more towards that than a different time now. I mean, the obvious answer is the 50s. You know, that like there's a passage to 1986, there's a passage to 1953. But I feel like obviously we know there's a 33-year cycle. But
you say it's obvious, but it's obvious now that you've seen episode 7. You know, it wasn't obvious in episode 6 when you were predicting it was an architect's room. You know.
Yeah, I still. Even though I know stuff is going to happen in 1953 now, I feel like it being a binary choice doesn't sit well with me, because, you know, yes, 1986 is a timeline we know they're going to visit. 1953 is all but confirmed they're going to visit that as well. But by that logic, could they not also visit 2052? But yeah, no. So it feels like having a binary physical path between 1986 and 1953 feels very limiting, when in theory there should be times at each 33-year cycle that they could visit, going as far back or as far forward as they want to, really. So yeah, to me,
is that you creating rules in your own mind, though? Maybe.
Well, I mean, I feel like the 33-year cycle thing has been fairly well established. So, I mean, I guess it is. But in my head, that, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that, like, I'll reflect on that after I've seen a few more episodes, and it'll be obvious that it's wrong. But to me, I feel like there won't just be 53 and 86 as timelines. I feel like there maybe will be other ones as well. I feel like there probably is going to be one in the future, but I could be wrong on that.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, so I mean, the obvious answer is it's 86 and 53 to me now, but I'm clinging on to that architect room theory.
Okay, fair enough. Right, last question, or last two questions, I suppose, from This when you look at this, doesn't look like it should be hard to pronounce, and then I just butcher it. Jeez Mize, Jess Mees.
There, but for the grace of God, go I.
Jeez Mees.
Sure.
Okay, one of those. Okay, so the question is, what is the stranger trying to achieve?
So I still think the stranger has first-hand experience of what Noah is doing. I think the imagery of him sharing the coat that Helga wears, and potentially other hooded figures, if there are other hooded figures who work for Noah, wears, is very deliberate. You know, it's suggesting that this character has gone through, or has potentially worked with Noah in the past. So I think they possibly got close to Noah, learned what they were doing, and is now trying to manipulate time to stop Noah from whatever he's currently engaged in. What kind of form that'll take at the moment, I'm not sure. He doesn't appear to have much of a plan from what I can see, but maybe he just does, and we don't know about it because we don't know the people that are in on the plan yet.
Interesting. Okay, and last question of the week is from the same commenter, and they say, what happened to Vola's eye?
I'm just going to say there's like some kind of Dark Knight Joker thing going on here, where every time he's asked about it, he gives a different explanation as to what happened to it. So I'm going to say, in reality, I think he was probably out at night in the woods, as police are wont to do in Vinden, and a bird fell into his eye during one of the electrical storms or electrical outages. But he probably claims that he was got into a knife fight with a hoodlum or something, and and sustained an injury in the line of duty.
That's great. Okay, so that's all the questions for this week. So thanks very much, everyone, for your questions. We're coming out with episode 8 on Monday, which is 2 days from when you listen to this, and a long way from where we are now.
Yeah, can't even see that far in the future.
Like, it's funny because, like, 2 days from when you listen to this, I will have already went through episode 8 with Konrad, and I just can't wait to do that.
Yeah, it's very tough not watching a lot more of this, let me tell you.
Yeah, it's getting to that point where I just really want him to see it all. So we're struggling for our art here. We'll get there at the end. So anything else to add, Konrad? Anything at all?
No, just thanks for the questions, guys. That was awesome, and yeah, we'll I look forward to more of them next week.
Awesome. Okay, can you subscribe to us on audio podcasting apps if you haven't done that already? Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done that already. And apart from that, thanks very much. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the After Dark podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode.